Slack and E-Major welcome you to the My Type of Hype podcast, where we celebrate hip-hop, not just the hype.
How y'all feel out there? Oh, yeah.
Welcome back, everyone. Another episode of the My Type of Hype podcast with me, as always, your boy Slack in the building, and my co-host extraordinaire, co-pilot, and co-defendant. What's happening, brother?
Yes, we're here, man. E-Major, My Type of Hype, the podcast that celebrates hip-hop and not just the hype, man. I'm blessed. Slack, what you saying, bro? You good?
Yes, indeed, man. Life is good, as Nas said. What's the topic of discussion for today?
You know what? We thought we just hit you up with a I don't know. It's a bit of a sad one, man. Here we are, 2023. Hip-hop's 50th year, man. We know what hip-hop means to us, man. And I want to say this as a disclaimer. We are going to be talking about the fact that there is no number one on the Billboard 100 or 200 from a hip-hop artist, no number one single or no number one hip-hop album. And this is the first time this has happened in 30 years. Now, the disclaimer I want to put out is that you've seen Slack's timeline, you've seen my timeline, you've seen us talk about it before on the podcast. We don't care about sales. It doesn't make a project dope to us. I don't care how much it sold or how much it hasn't sold. That's not what we're about. So don't think this episode is about that. But the reason we wanted to address it is because it's an important thing to realize that for the first time in 30 years, no hip-hop album has been number one on the Billboard chart. So yeah, we just thought we'd chop it up a bit about that, man. So what's your thoughts on that, bro?
I find it hilarious, to be honest with you. Because all the dickheads on the timeline who constantly talk about Billboard and this and that, like, yeah, shove it. All of you that I've been telling for how long that charts and all that bullshit don't matter. Like, if your favorite artist is selling X amount, how much of that money is going in your pockets? None. Zero. Right. It means fuck all. It means nothing. So let's be real about it. Billboard, what does it matter to people who love hip-hop, who's been buying hip-hop since God knows how long? With my pocket money, I was buying hip-hop music. A lot of these people nowadays that talk about how much something sold, you ain't buying shit. You're streaming music for £10 a month. I was buying albums for £10 when I was a kid, buying albums. So I don't want to hear from none of them about sales and how much this is streamed and this, that, and the third. Like, you're clicking something on your phone. So like your consumption of hip-hop music to me is a joke, to be honest with you. That's why I enjoy like sparring with these people who constantly talk about sales and this and that. Like, it kind of, I don't know, it kind of feels a bit like I don't know, some kind of insecurity to me. Like, if you have to lean on, oh, this amount of people agree with me, therefore it must be good. That don't mean shit. Like, how many terrible songs have been number one, or how many terrible albums have sold millions and millions? Because we're now in an era where people only give a shit about the artist. They don't care about the music. They only care about that artist that they like or that they love or that they stan or whatever. But the artist don't know you exist, bro. The artist thinks you're a dickhead. He tells you you're a dickhead all over the album. He tells you you're broke. He tells you he can take your bitch. He tells you all this stuff, but you know, you constantly prop him up, and here you are looking stupid after 30 years now, where people constantly talk about charts and this and that, and hip hop hasn't had one song or one album as number one. That goes to show a lot to me. It doesn't bother me at all, because why would it? I obviously would love more people to be into hip hop and stuff, but a lot of the people that we would debate with or stuff on the timeline, they're not really into hip hop like that. It's just a discussion piece. You know,
Agreed.
They ain't got nothing else going on, or the music that they actually like, no one really gives a shit about. So they'll talk about hip hop music, or you know, they'll taste it and think, oh, okay, I like this song or whatever. But I think it speaks volumes about the state of hip hop, and that people are actually tired of the same old recycled shit that I've been saying for how long now. The same flows, the same voice, the same beats, the same producers, the same features. There's nothing exciting going on in the main with mainstream hip hop, especially. it's the same old shit. People are tired of it,
Mhm.
and it's time for a change. And I think this is the mark in the sand, basically, to say, yo, we've hit a peak. And who's really coming up to be like, okay, let's shake stuff up? We had Dr. Dre and Snoop come and shake stuff up in '92. We had we had Brand Nubian, we had Native Tongues, we had that whole West Coast movement with the Dog Pound and Death Row and Tupac. We had the whole East Coast movement, BDP, and all of those great things going on. What movements have we got now that you can?
There's nothing, man. There's nothing.
I can't think of one. I can't think of one movement. We had Dipset, we had the Locks, we had G Unit, we had Big, we had Pac, we had the female rappers killing it, Queen Latifah, the Brat, etc. We had a bit of everything, and that's not to compare eras or whatever, but if we're talking since 1993, this is the first time ever. That tells you, number one, that hip hop was selling back then because it was hitting number one on Billboard. But a lot of rappers were saying that they didn't give a shit about Billboard. So we're in a totally different time now because every artist does care about Billboard because that's what they talk about is how much records they sold or whatever.
Yeah,
but before, a lot of artists was like, I don't give a shit about Billboard. My record label does, but I don't. You know what I mean? So I just find it a very interesting point in time, and I think that now is when the change should happen. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I mean, because I was reading an article earlier, and they were saying that by this time, by the halfway point last year, they had already had 6 different artists that had #1 albums or singles or whatever had done this year. And you know, you touched on who's coming, who's going to shape things up. You know, I was looking at the XXL, the freshman cover yesterday.
Why bother?
You know, I mean, they're doing their thing. They're making TikTok music. They're making hip hop for up and comers, what have you. I ain't putting them down. Make your money, do it. But I'm just saying, when you look at it, bro, they feel like they're all carbon copies of each other. Do you know what I'm saying? There's nothing. And I want to quote not Easy Moby. Yeah, he made a brilliant statement on Instagram the other day. And he was saying that he feels the answer is in the question. The reason there's been no #1 hip hop albums because there's been no #1 hip hop single. Do you know what I mean? And he said that they go hand in hand because I know people love to call us old heads or whatever, but there's no emphasis on a single no more. I was just with wifey. We was just watching the Money Shot R&B podcast, right? Tank and Jay Valentine. They do a podcast all about R&B. It's really good actually. And they had D Nice on there. And D Nice was talking about just the power of singles in his time coming up. And he was just saying that you could push a single for a year.
Easy.
Like, you know what I mean? Like you promoting a single for a year. I mean, shout out to Fetty Wap. I remember reading that single that he had, Trap Queen or whatever. He was pushing that single for like 3 years with no other music before it blew up. The point I'm making is that now we're in a throwaway music era. If that single ain't really doing anything or a song ain't really bubbling after a few weeks, that's it. Oh, here's another project. Here's this. Here's that. People don't even get time to sit and live with music anymore. Do you know what I mean? So like Easy Moby said, I think the power of the single is lost. And I think it's because of streaming. Do you know what I mean? The power of the single is lost now. So there's no anticipation for an album because of a smash single. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not even going to ask if you have, because I know you have. We're from the same era. How many albums do you have in your collection that you bought off of the strength of one single? You know what I'm saying?
Nothing. You just take that chance, innit? You're just like, well, if that single's that good, hopefully the rest of the albums is good.
And like you said, 10, 12, 15 pounds sometimes, man, you're going to spend on one album because of one single. Do you know what I'm saying? You spend less than that now to get access to millions of music. So, you know, that's another discussion in itself. But we're in a time now here where we've had no #1 singles. And this might not even be the music I'd make a beeline for, because we know it's not really going to be the underground music. And I don't want to listen to underground music. I listen to commercial as well. But I'm just saying, my go-to right now, apart from reminiscent of older music, my go-to is underground, because commercial hip hop isn't really the hip hop I enjoy listening to anymore. So it's weird. the question we've got to ask ourselves, I think, without getting too dramatic about it, is what does this mean for the future of hip hop? Do you know what I'm saying? If it's the first time this has happened, I need to throw out another statement as well. Cool G Rap and KRS-One. There was a video floating around from them, and they were asked, you know, what's happening in hip hop today that they feel causes hip hop to be in a dangerous place. And Cool G Rap said that there's no originality. You know what I'm saying? I think me and you have spoken about that as well. There's no originality. He said in his day, in their time, you could not come out sounding like someone else.
You couldn't.
You couldn't do it.
It was not allowed.
You could not do it. You're biting your lights up. I mean, and they're from mid to late 80s, right? Even if you fast forward 10 years and look at the mid 90s, I remember when Do or Die dropped, yeah, and they were sounding like Bone. I remember the uproar. It was like, who are these guys trying to sound like Bone Thugs? Do you get me? There's times when you're like, you can't come out sounding like someone else. You've got to be original. But now we're not seeing that originality. But someone made a great point, and I was hoping to remember their handle because I don't want it to be like I was stealing what they were saying. But so if it's you, tag me when this is out. But he made a great point. Crawford, that's who it was. Shout out Crawford. And this debate was on the timeline. And he said it's a lot easier to be original when hip hop was in its infancy stages. Do you know what I mean? When hip hop's only 10 years old. Say that again?
Because there wasn't as much to copy from.
Right. But now hip hop's 50 years old this year. Is it that easy to be original when most of it's probably been done before? No idea is original, as they say. You know what I'm saying? And record labels. We're talking about Billboard charts. Record labels want to make money. So they see a style that works. They see something that sells. What they're saying to the up-and-coming artists is, be like this person. Sound like that person. So I don't know, bro. I don't know, man. How do you feel like this is going to affect the future of hip-hop, man? Like, I think it's a big thing.
Yeah, I think it is. And to touch on what you said, I put up a tweet recently and I said, that's really funny that Easy Mo B said the same thing. But I asked the question, do you guys miss buying singles? And a lot of people are like, yeah, because you'd get a remix, you'd get a B-side, you get stuff that you're not going to get on the album, you'd only get on the single, and now you don't get none of that shit. And as Easy Mo B said, or sorry, as D Nice said, you could work a single for 6 months, a year, then you drop the album. So that anticipation was there that you're not getting now. And with regard to copy and biting's acceptable, ghostwriting's acceptable, everything's just been lowered below the floor now. So everything that used to have a standard, there's no standard. Everything that's like just cookie cutter just gets accepted because it sounds like X. Like there's producers literally who are on YouTube, whatever. They'll put up beats that says Rick Ross type beat or this type beat. It's like what? Like that was totally not. If you were a producer, you say I make beats that sounds like this producer. Can you imagine Primo making beats and be like, yeah, I make beats that sound like Marley Marl? What are you talking about? Like that's just so unheard of. That is just not. That's just not hip hop at all. That is anti hip hop. And I think the problem is a lot of people that aren't hip hop heads are now talking like hip hop is their Bible, is their thing, when it's clearly not. So these people that are consuming music now or consuming hip hop or whatever, you know, what are you really talking about? Let's be honest. Like it's all being exposed now. It's all just you follow the crowd. You want to be part of the in crowd. You want to be this and that. When I was a kid, if you was a hip hop fan, you was not like the in crowd. You was like to yourself. It was you and your boys or whatever. Everyone else was listening to pop music or whatever. We were the ones who was going out and buying the shit and all of that, watching videos and all of that, learning the lyrics and freestyling in the lunchroom. All of that stuff. That is all part of the culture. That is all part of me as a kid, like giving everything to this culture and everything that it gave to me. We don't have that now. We just don't. It's as simple as that. For all of these, like you said, man, I saw that XXL cover and I was just laughing because I was like, all of you look the same. You've all got dreads. You all got skinny jeans. You're all doing this bullshit with your mouth. What is that? What the fuck is that? Seriously. I don't understand what's going on. Like, how are you looking at someone and
That's
thinking,
funny.
I'm going to do exactly the same thing that this guy's doing.
That's got to be a secret symbol in that, bro. There's got to be a meaning in that, man.
Bro, like I was chatting to who I can't remember who I was talking to the other day, man. And I was like, she said she made a great point. She said something like, if I'm wearing something, then and I see someone else out with it, I don't want it no more. And I was like, yo, that's me. Like if I had a pair of, I remember I bought it wasn't me. I think my dad bought me a pair of Jordan 4s. I think they were the 4s, black and red. Everyone wanted them, right? I walking around in these like, yeah, this is the shiz, because back in them days, like we used to get stuff way later than the US. So I was lucky enough to have my US connection. I'll get all my shit nice and early. So I saw someone else walking in them, and I was like, oh man, I don't even want to walk in these no more. And it ain't about them having the same as me. It's just like I don't like to be that follower guy. I don't like to be the one that's got stuff that everyone's got. I like to have something that's different. That's, you know what I mean? And that's what hip hop was. Now hip hop is the pop music of the era that we're in.
It is 100%.
But I remember even when we was younger, we must have been like, what, 15, 16 or whatever. And we saw that hip hop was going mainstream, right? And we was like, there's going to be a time where it's going to come back around. I think one of the elders has said it to us, like, yeah, okay, it's popular now, but it's going to go back out underground at some point. It has to. That's what he said. He said it has to, so it can start again. And I feel like we're at a point in time now where it has to start again, because there are too many whack rappers. There's too many copycat producers. The videos are all the same. It's just girls twerking and guys throwing money. It's like, how many times can we see the same shit, man?
I can't tell the last time I watched the video. I can't tell the last
yeah,
time
for real. The only videos I really see are clips on Twitter. Like I don't watch videos like unless it's like a song from back in the day or whatever. I don't
exactly.
I don't even know if they shoot videos now, to be honest with you. The way that they used to. But there's so much that plays into this conversation with regard to why is it that labels or that artists feel that it's okay to just copy whatever the last man did and try and sell that to the exact same audience. Like, you're not going to have Ice Cube selling records to people that I don't know, Drake is going to buy, because they're two completely different artists.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? So I don't know, man. I think we're at a point in time now, we're at the fork in the road, and it's like you can either choose to have like a sustainable career, because there's plenty of rappers that have a very sustainable career.
Yeah,
not going to #1 on the Billboard charts, but just making dope music. They have a core fan base. That core fan base is loyal. They'll buy whatever they put out because it's dope. And if it's not dope, then it's gonna flop. Simple as that.
Yeah.
But I think as you said, bro, I think streaming has just put a massive dent in music. I think the whole thing about sampling as well has made a big thing, because artists are scared to lose a whole bunch of money if they sample something, then they get caught later on. You know what I mean? But that's another thing. Before I go off on a massive tangent, that's another thing. Too many of you producers are not sampling. You're just replaying songs. You just take a beat that was popular from the early 2000s, you replay it and maybe put some new drums on it, and that's it. Like, the hooks are the same, the beat's the same. I think he's not a hip-hop artist. What's his name? Burna Boy, right?
Yeah.
He's not a hip-hop artist, but he's literally remade Brandy's song, right? Literally, the beat is exactly the same. You haven't sampled it, you've just replayed it. That's karaoke, bro. That's not originality. Like, if you're sampling something, it's to the point where you're like, what has he sampled? I can't quite figure out what he sampled. That's the beat you're sampling, because you take something and you flip it so much that people don't know what it is. Like, Dinner was taking the drums from Rapper's Delight and flipping it so hard that you would never be able to know unless you know
where it was.
Now they just literally just going, let's just put new drums over that melody or over that and make it a new song. That's not a new song, because we will listen to it and be like, that's a terrible copy of whatever.
Yeah.
So
Did he
yeah,
do the same with Tony Braxton as well? Was it the same? Ain't
it
it
wouldn't
Burna Boy as
surprise
well?
me, man, because it's almost like he'll be like, "Oh, people are too dumb." No, because I saw people like, "Oh, this is fire." Da, da, da. I'm like, have you not heard Bradley's song? Like, have you not actually heard that? Because if you did, you wouldn't be saying that this is fire because it's literally a copy of what came before. And I just don't respect that, man. It's just not creative to me. People can love it what they want. That's fine. Love what you like. But for me, I just think that's lazy and trash, if I'm completely honest with you. And that's where we're at.
Yeah, it's I almost feel like it's a gift and a curse because on one hand it's like you said, we want hip hop to blow up. Like we're excited, you know what I mean? Like to see this thing that we love become the most popular genre in the world. But then it's almost like a gift and a curse because it's like because it's so big and so popular now, it's just a money magnet. Do you know what I mean? And then it's just I think the key is to know where you want to go and where to go for what you want to hear. Do you know what I'm saying? And I think this will probably be like a resurgence for the underground hip hop because I mean, if commercial hip hop ain't even hitting that mark anymore, and I don't know the year's not over, but it's a big thing to not have one yet. Like I said, this time last year they had 6 different hip hop artists that had hit #1. There's none so far this year. So what are you gonna do? Keep regurgitating the same sound? Or people are going to start thinking, you know, maybe I want to hear something different. And I think it was RJ Payne who tweeted something recently, and he said, you know, commercial hip hop's dead. He said underground is where it's at. There's always been that
underground, no, bro. Even underground, a lot of them are sounding the same now.
Oh no, there's no doubt. I feel dark saying this, but I'm going to say it, bro. Like, I love Griselda. Except for Westside Gun, but I love Griselda, but I respect Westside. I respect Westside. Everyone knows that. But even that, bro, like I was listening to Conway's latest project, man. It did zero. Like it did nothing. I just felt like
that's the common. That's a common feedback for that album. I actually like it.
Bro, nah. I felt like if I'd never hear this again, I'm not bothered. Like I literally felt like that. And I had to single them out because I felt like I'm a Conway fan. Do you know what I mean? This time last year, I'd probably say he was my. If you asked me this time last year, who's like my top 5 rappers right now, Conway would have been on that top 5. You know, probably top 3. But I don't know. I listened to that album, man, and I just thought, I don't know. So there's been a few underground projects that I've been listening to, and yeah, to agree with you, it is sounding samey, but. If I had to choose between underground and the commercial right now, bro, I'm way underground. I can't stomach all the commercial. Do you know what I mean? So there's definitely an element of people seeing what works and copying that. Do you know what I mean? But I just feel we got way more variation on the underground. Do you know what I mean? But even in the underground, you've got your tiers. You've got your cliques, and I don't mean like official cliques, but you've got people that are they sound like this. This group sounds like that. So you're going to get the samey sound, but I think there's so much variation and so much different ways we can go in the underground compared to the commercial. It just sounds the same, bro. I'm really not surprised that there hasn't been any #1s, but it just makes me think, what does this mean for hip hop? Do you know what I mean? Commercially, I guess.
Even if you think about it, bro, we're in June now, right? Technically, we should have a song of the summer by now.
Exactly.
Yesterday was the longest day of the year, which means that it's going to start getting darker already.
Yeah,
moving into autumn or whatever, right? We still haven't had one song of the summer. Could you tell me what the song of last summer was, hip hop wise?
Well, I ain't gonna lie, no, because I just don't really hear much anymore commercially like that.
This is my point. Like before, you could tell what the song of the summer was, or like I think Jay-Z was like, I've had 9 summers or 10 summers or whatever it is. We haven't had that I can't think of the last time I was like, that's the song of the summer or whatever.
Even if we don't like it, you're right. Even if you don't like it. Right. Some French Montana song or some, I don't know, something you're hearing and you're like, oh, that's obviously the banger of the summer that everyone's playing. But yeah, I don't even know what that would be.
You hear it everywhere. But
exactly.
So I don't know, man. I think people are just getting tired of hearing the same. Literally, there's a shelf life for everything, and I don't think people really take that into account. There is literally a shelf life for everything. There's going to be a point where people just get tired of the same shit that you're selling to them. You can sell something for so long, and then you're like, boy, do you know what? It's like you can eat sugar all your life, right? At some point, you're going to get diabetes. It's as simple as that, right? There's going to come a point where your body's like, nah, I can't do this no more. And I think at the minute, you're getting sold just the same stuff over and over, just repackaged, just the same lyrics, bitches, money, strippers, shake that butt in the club, the same old stuff. Like, how many times, man? And this ain't nothing about new rappers, because old rappers were doing the same shit. But I feel like the older rappers had a way of being a bit more witty and creative with it, or using more. I had this thing on Twitter the other day about having fun. Yeah, having fun is the new excuse now for this person is fucking whack. That is the excuse. We've always had fun. We've always had fun, bro. Like, always had fun, bro. Run DMC were having fun.
That's what I mean.
Do you know what I'm saying? You can go through Rapper's Delight was nothing but fun. So what are we talking about when we say that they're just having fun? Does that mean you're allowed to be shit at your craft because you're just having fun? Because to me, just having fun is the person who's in the club who's had way too much to drink and goes on a karaoke stage and grabs the microphone and starts talking shit and was like, you're terrible, get off the stage. Like, she's having fun though, or he's having fun because they're off their head. But having fun is not an excuse to be whack, man. Like, let's be sensible for 1 second. Hip hop has always been a fun genre. Well, not always, because there was the whole gangster rap element or whatever. But in its infancy, even if you listen to a load of the albums from, like, even Tribe Called Quest, like, all the albums were just fun, just lighthearted. Do you know what I'm saying? So let's not do that nonsense. Let's not do that. They're having fun. That's not an excuse to be terrible at rapping, make terrible music. I just feel like who was I talking to? I think I was talking to my girl. She was like, it was Grap. It was Grap, but I spoke to her after. But Grap was saying about Pete Rock doesn't make low vibrational music, right? Yeah. And that resonated immediately because I was like, you can literally tell, bro. That's why he calls himself Soul Brother #1, right? Because his music speaks to the soul and he makes it from the soul. And there's a lot of people that make it for the money, and you can just tell, like, they don't give a shit if they keep selling the same. DJ Mustard sold the same beat 1,000 times, bro. Yeah. Literally, he sold that one beat, plink plonk, plink plink plink. He sold that shit 1,000 times. And he can just ride off into the sunset and chill now. He's made his money. You don't really hear much from him no more. But because how many times can you sell the same beat? But you ain't going to say that about Pete Rock. You're not going to be like, this beat is exactly the same as this beat, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, he'll take a sample from here and he'll flip it and he'll do all these amazing things with the drums and da-da-da-da-da. That is a producer for me, personally. I'm hearing just a lot of the same stuff now, man. So I just think it was inevitable. I expected this to happen, and I think a lot of other people did too.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see where the year goes or what happens after here, but hoping it will just give birth to something where people say, look, we need to do something different, man, because labels are going to be all over it. So I don't know what they might be looking for something fresh. Maybe they'll hit a point where they'll say, like, it's all been done before, let's do something different. Do you know what I mean? And give us some because everyone seems to think that we're against, like, modern music or, like, commercial music or
at all. If anything, I want it to be better. Why would I not?
Exactly.
Think about it. Why would I not want them to be better than what we had before? I don't want to keep going back to listening to the same stuff over and over again because nothing's better than it now. I don't want to keep going back to 92, 93, 94.
Like you have to. Yeah.
I want to hear stuff now, and I'm like, yeah, you guys are killing it way better. I would love to say that. I would love to support the youth who are making dope music and be like, you guys are way better. But it's just not, man. It's just not simple. It's just not.
Yeah. No, 100%, man. And I think that's the sad thing about hip hop, because I think in R&B, I don't think they have that problem. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, nostalgia is always going to creep in where we're going to prefer a lot of the stuff from the 90s or whatever because of nostalgia. But I mean, if you look at R&B and the development of R&B, there's still quality acts, man. Quality artists, quality singers.
I don't know if I agree with that.
You know what it is? The thing is, where I think a lot of R&B artists need to be careful is that they're meshing the sound too much with hip hop. Do you know what I mean? Or grime or whatever. They're meshing the sound, so it's all sounding the same. But the talent and the ability to make real R&B music is there. Do you know what I'm saying? But I feel with hip hop,
who would you hold up as a new R&B artist that's making like real soul music?
See, new. When I say new, it'll be tricky to say new as in like new, fresh on the scene. But you know, I still think, I know she's not new before anyone jumps down my throat, but I still think people like what is her name, man? Such a powerful voice. What's her name? Smash your windows in. She's not new. What's her name? Jasmine Sullivan. Jasmine Sullivan.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's not new at all, but soulful soul. Jasmine Sullivan, right? Who else? There was someone else I had in mind as well. Summer Walker, wifey's helping me. I ain't even gonna lie. Summer Walker, because my memory's bad, bro. My memory's bad. Summer Walker, Ari Lennox, yeah. So these are people who are not necessarily new. I know that, but still dropping recent music that still gives you that R&B of old feel. You see what I'm saying? Even SZA to a point.
But then for me, it's the same as mainstream and underground hip hop, because you can say there's people in the underground like Vic Spencer, like SD Nack, like all of these dudes who are making like original music that doesn't sound like nobody else. So that's calm. But my point being is, if you listen to a lot of this R&B shit that's coming out nowadays, a lot of it is auto-tuned. A lot of them are cursing all up in the music, talking about all kinds of shit that would not be in the R&B record back in the day. They ain't talking about love. They ain't talking about I want you back. They're talking about all kinds of profanity and this and that. For me, that's just not R&B. That's just like,
that's the matching R&B.
You're way too close. You're way too close to the hip hop aesthetic. You're bringing the hip hop aesthetic way too much into R&B. For me, I think R&B,
they're matching too much.
I think there should be. Obviously, there's going to be a crossover because that's been happening since the beginning of time. I got no problem with that. But a lot of rappers did. And let's not get it twisted.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Yeah,
messing with R&B back in the day, and I heard Meth say that the other day, so I knew I wasn't going mad. But that was a fact.
Yeah.
But now, they're all cussing, and I just don't know. It doesn't resonate with me, if I'm being honest with you.
Because they want to be rappers, isn't it? A lot of them. They think like Little Fame said it.
Who said it? Rappers
years ago.
Singers want to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, man. It's real. It's true.
Yeah. It happens, and I get that. But what I'm saying is, like, even in the R&B scene, even your commercial R&B artists that are selling out big arenas are still doing that real R&B. Unfortunately, underground hip hop artists ain't selling out arenas. You see what I'm saying? Like, you're still seeing Rome streets in little venues. You know, you're still seeing. I don't know. I'm still waiting for certain heads to come over, but they'll come over and they're in, obviously I can't talk about what their shows are like in America, but over here they're still in smaller venues where you're getting commercial artists in Tottenham Stadium, and you know what I mean, like in Wembley and things like that, and O2 and big things. So it's like that's where the difference lies. That R&B, I feel like you have those artists that are meshing it. Agreed, definitely, where they think they're rappers and they're that. But I think it's easier to find real R&B, whether it's underground or commercial, still. Whereas I feel with hip hop, it comes to the point. I was at work the other day, and there were some new people around, and they was asking, "Oh, what music do you like?" And I said hip hop, and they was like, "Oh, I don't mind a bit of rap." And in my mind, I'm thinking, nah, like, you're not minding a bit of rap, right? Hip hop. You know what I'm saying? It's that point where it's like there's just such a huge difference between saying the hip hop that's actually what we listen to and the commercial rap that people know. They're like worlds apart. We're talking about hip hop not being #1 on the Billboard charts or 200, whatever. That's in America. In the UK, there's been #1 hip hop singles on the UK charts, because UK hip hop right now, as we know, is not hip hop. And I don't say that disrespectfully, but I mean the UK commercial hip hop scene it's easy for that to go to #1 because that is more pop music. You see what I'm saying? Obviously, just like US, if you want your underground hip hop UK, you're going to find it, and you know where and who to go for it. So that's there and alive and well. I'm not taking anything away from that, but I'm talking about the difference between the commercial. It's reached here, and we've probably had American things #1 here, but I don't know. It's weird. I don't know. It's we're in a weird place. I think for this to be the first time in over 2 decades, something needs to happen, or something has happened. You know what I'm saying? And something will need to change. Man. There's no doubt about it.
I think it's the cycle, man. Everything goes in cycles. Everything. Like, no ideas are original. It's all been done before.
Yeah.
It's how you do it. And if you're just literally going to copy someone, then you're not going to cut it. And there's a reason that, you know, Ghostface made Shot Niggas. There's a reason for that. Because it was not tolerated. And he was like, I don't want people to sound like me on no album. No. And that should always be the standard, because no one can sound like Ghostface. I know a lot of people said Action Bronson tried and all that shit, but I don't think he did. I think Action Bronson was just Action Bronson.
He just sounds like him, bro. He don't rap nothing.
Yeah, and what's he gonna do? Like change his voice? Come on, man. Like,
yeah, exactly.
If you actually listen to what he's saying, it's nothing like Ghostface. Like, he's a funny dude. Like, I like listening to him because he just says wild shit and it's funny. But he's nothing to me. He's nothing like Ghostface.
No.
But you can say now that there's gonna be there just is carbon copies. There just is. It just is what it is. Everyone wanted to be Lil Wayne, so now everyone's got dreads now. Everyone's got face tattoos. Everyone's got grills in their mouth and all of that kind of stuff. So, all right, fine. But okay, we've Lil Wayne had his 2009 to maybe 2012 run, whatever it was. That was a very long time ago. Let's move past that now. What's next? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And people say, "Oh, it's a young man's game." Nas sold out how many arenas in how many countries?
Exactly.
Australia, the UK, Europe, Madison Square Garden. Come on, man! Like, it's not a young man's game at all.
It's not at all, man.
I mean, if people like Nas are still able to drop albums like Magic in 2020,
exactly,
or whenever it was, then I mean, what more do I need to say? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I think a lot of it is just excuses. A lot of it is people just wanting to use hip hop to make a quick buck, a little bit of money, rather than actually passion. Like, do you think these artists today would do like what Q-Tip and a lot of other producers used to do, where they'll be playing a sample, not a sample, they'll be playing a song. Like, there's footage of Q-Tip like with a record player and his headphones on, and he's literally stopping the song every couple of seconds to try and find that perfect bit.
Yeah.
Do you think producers, like the new producers, doing that now? Or are they just like, let me just take a beat from here and just sell it again?
They don't need to.
One of them, I'm not saying that at all. There's still dope producers out there who are making dope. I'm just saying a lot of the mainstream producers, that's what they're doing, because we can hear it, man. We can hear where that shit's lazy. We can.
Yeah. But they don't need to. They feel like they don't need to. So it's almost like, if I can just do this in 2 minutes and get paid this 100 times over, why am I doing that?
It's true.
They probably got the ability to do it, but the demand's not there. They don't need to. You see what I'm saying?
Why do I need to write my raps? I'll get someone else to write my raps. I'll just say them and get paid. Like, it's cool.
Right. Do you know what I mean? Why does it need to, like, I mean, I was having a discussion with someone the other day about Future and Young Thug, and they were saying how important they are to the culture. You know, you have certain conversations where you just think, maybe I really am just an old head that don't get it, because I like to think I'm open-minded and I like to understand certain things. Like I said on the other episode, I'll chop it up with my daughter all the time about newer artists, do you know what I mean? And check them out, you get me? But I don't know, when we're having discussions about people like Young Thug and Future being pillars, like, I'm thinking all these guys do.
I wouldn't say Young Thug.
But I can't see that, bro. That's what I'm saying. All I hear is auto-tune.
But look at what came after him. That's the thing. Look at what came after Future.
But this is the point we're making.
Whether you like him or not, whether you rate him or not, or you think he's good or not, after Future, everyone wanted to sound like Future. So we've got 100 Futures now after him.
But this is exactly the point I'm making. That's why I brought that up, because it's like, this is exactly why I said that. When I said the artist may turn around, the producer, sorry, may turn around and say, why am I going to put all these hours of work in if I can just put this together and throw it out there? When you've got rappers that all they're doing is, once again, to talk about the R&B podcast with Tank, he was talking about one of them same dudes I just mentioned. They cannot sing at all, right? But their features on the track as a singer.
Right.
But they can't sing. But they don't need to worry about singing because they're on auto-tune. All auto-tune was meant to do, right, was enhance certain things. Now, I don't care what no one says. Shout out to, what is wrong with me tonight, man? Damn.
Are you going to say
what's his name? T-Pain. T-Pain, right? Shout out to T-Pain. Because you take away the auto-tune, dude can sing.
Right.
That's the difference. Right. You're getting people that go into the studio that cannot sing and rely on an auto-tune, right? I don't want to hear Young Thug or Future or these guys, right? I'm not signing up just to hear your auto-tuned mumble. So if you doing that has started a generation of other auto-tune mumblers, then yeah, you've made an impact on the culture, but not the type of impact I hoped for. So it's all of that is helped in creating the type of, I don't know if laziness is the right word, but it's the type of, let's work smart, not hard. You see what I'm saying?
That's literally my life's motto. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a Future fan by any stretch of the imagination, but what I rate about him is the fact that he did his own thing. Like, he didn't copy nobody, and everybody copies him. You know what I'm saying? Like, no one sounded like Future before Future did. Whether I like it, whether I play his music or not, nah. But yeah, I mean, he's featured on everyone's songs and whatever, and yeah, it's auto-tune, and yeah, it's, you know, the 808s or whatever, but he's got audience, and he so yeah, that is what it is. I can't hate on him because he's doing what I'm asking people to do, and that's be original. And
but is it original?
It was at the time when he came out. No one was doing it. No one was doing what he was doing. Who else was doing it? It took for Kanye to copy his shit and do the 808s and whatever. Because I think Future, what was it called? Pluto or something like that. That came out like years ago. I don't know if that was around the same kind of time, but that helped 808s and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, it was never for me, that sound at all, but I don't know. It's where it is now, so, you know, gotta accept it. Either you like it or you don't.
And that's the thing. I respect originality. There's no doubt about that. I respect originality. If you're coming out and you're doing something different, okay, I don't have to like it. But the problem is, I mean, and you could take it right back to our era. You could say the same thing about Das Effects or Chip Fu or whoever. The problem is, or, you know, Bone Thugs. The problem with originality sometimes, well, not the problem, but the gift and the curse is that people are going to copy it. You see what I'm saying? So I get it. In that sense, I respect his originality. But the problem I had, maybe I shouldn't have mentioned his name because it would be the same as Das Effects, but I'm a fan, so that's different. The problem I had with Future, though, is that it was just like, you've heard one, you've heard them all. And that was the struggle I had with him. It was
his fans would disagree with you. To me, I don't know. I don't dig into his stuff enough for me to give a shit, to be honest with you. But yeah, like, I'll be able to tell like a certain song off a certain artist off an album, but now it feels like a lot of the songs just kind of like, there's no like defining song titles either. Like, people are just naming their song titles like, I don't know, a glass of water. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't really stick with you. Are you gonna be like, have you heard that glass of water song? It's just like, okay, whatever.
Griselda are terrible at that though. I feel like I'm banging on them today. But
I think a lot of their song titles mean something to them. Like, even Dr. Birds, like that's a Jamaican spot in where they live, up in Buffalo. So a lot of the song titles from them are like, it means something to people.
Local significance.
Yeah, exactly. So I get it. But to us, it's like Dr. Birds. Why would you call it that? But if you go to Dr. Birds, then you know why they call it that. Do you know what I mean? So, well, I don't know, man. Maybe it is a thing about errors or whatever. But like you, bro, I'm totally open-minded to new stuff. But if it's shit, I'm just gonna call it that. Like, I'm not gonna sit there and pretend I like something just to get more engagement or more followers or whatever. I can't do it.
100%. Yeah.
I physically can't do it. I can't do it in real life. I can't do it on Twitter. If I don't like someone in real life, I can't sit there and smile in their face and call them a dickhead behind their back. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I just can't. So I think it's the same. And it'll be interesting to see where it goes from here, because is it going to shake things up? Is it going to make people give a shit and think, oh my God, not for... Because it's a little bit embarrassing that we're at the 50th year of hip hop.
Yeah.
Like you said, I don't give a shit about Billboard because they don't put money on my kids' plate or food on my kids' plate. Don't put money in my pocket. Why do I care if someone's got #1? It just means that there's a lot more people that like what I like. And I'm quite happy to like what I like and only have one other person like what I like. I don't need a million people to like what I like. But it seems that we're in an era where everyone has to jump aboard the train and, you know, like the same shit. But that's fine. It's where we're at. It's what the kids are doing. That's up to them. But for me, I think it's the start of something where people are going to be like, okay, because a lot of like the elder heads in hip hop have been saying it now for a long time, that we need a refresh. This needs to be rejuvenated. We can't keep doing the same stuff. And I think that's where we're at. So I think it's a positive thing, if I'm honest with you. It's going to make people have to actually work harder and to get what they want.
Yeah. Because we want hip hop to win ultimately, man. For anyone watching, listening, we're not here gloating in it. Like, it might not be our era or even our go-to or blah blah blah, but we want hip hop to win, like, at all costs. You know what I'm saying? So it not impacting the Billboard charts as it would have is a sign. You know what I mean? Of a worrying sign for me. As much as that sounds like a contradiction, because we don't really care about sales, but we just want hip hop to win. That's what we're saying. And maybe it's if looking at hip hop as a music genre, if you looked at it as a company or an organization, if you were dipping in sales or something like that, you're going to sit back, you're going to get the leaders of the organization together and see, right, where are we going wrong? You know what I'm saying? So we're just hoping that this does something in hip hop as well. Even if it means something where now the underground may more push through a little bit more, whatever. But definitely, 50th year.
Even if this starts something new,
right? It's going to shape.
I'm all for it. Or even if, like, you know, the Killer Mike album's got people playing instruments again on hip hop records, or you know, all that kind of stuff. I'm all for it, man. I'm all for some change. I'm all for innovation. I'm all for originality. So if this wakes people up to say, "Rah, we've been doing the same shit for too long. People are bored of it now. Bring it on, man."
Fully agree, man. Fully agree. Hip hop. We called the episode "Numbers Don't Lie," man, but only because, you know, that's where it is with the scenario, man. The numbers ain't been there, didn't impact the charts like that. But hip hop's for the win, man. We want hip hop to win always.
100%. So as always, guys, if you agree with us, you disagree with us, drop a comment below. We're passionate about hip hop, so sometimes it might come across as, you know, we're dissing something or whatever. I ain't got time for that, man. You know what I mean? I've got kids of my own. I ain't got time to be dissing what they like, what they listen to, and all that stuff. I just want to hear good stuff. That's it. I don't care who it's from. If you're 19 years old, if you're 49 years old, if it's dope, it's dope. And if it's not, then it's not. And that's just how it goes for me and for my brother. So, yeah, man. Another episode wrapped. Until next time, as always, we got some good shit coming up, some interviews and all of that kind of stuff. So stick with us. The road to 500, I believe. I don't really keep an eye on that kind of stuff, but I think we're hovering around that kind of area. So that's dope, man. Thank you for all the follows and all the interactions and all the positive stuff that you've been dropping about the podcast, man. We really, truly appreciate it. We only do this out of the pure enjoyment of it, nothing else. So as long as people are still interested in any kind of way, then we'll keep dropping it, man. So from me this week, that's a wrap. And from my co-defendant, co-pilot, and co-host,
you major me here, man. Yeah, appreciate you joining us. Yeah, as Flat mentioned, a road to 500. Yeah, this ain't about numbers. This ain't about nothing like that. We do this for the love of the culture, no doubt. But we are, you know, hoping to get the platform to grow a bit, exposure, let more people just hear what we're talking about and join in with the discussions. Do you know what I'm saying? Genuine people, man. So if you enjoy the podcast and there's people that you know just genuinely like hip hop, feel free to share the podcast. And we always say, if you're feeling it, do you know what I mean? Don't just do it as a favor. We want you to enjoy it and say to someone, you know what, I like this podcast. Check them out if you like it as well. So yeah, man. But all the support you guys have given from day one, we appreciate, man. Just stick with us, man. But yeah, until next week, My Type of Hype, the podcast that celebrates hip hop and not just the hype. So stay blessed, keep it hype. See you next week.
For real. Salute.